you all so much for joining us tonight. I will begin introducing our panelists for tonight. First, we have Joyce Shepard. She's District 12 Council Member. We also have Connie Viets. She's Co-Executive Director, Chief Operating Officer. Greg Levine. He's Co-Executive Director, Chief Program Officer. We have Lee Harb, Trees Atlanta Partner and Environmental Consultant. And last but not least, John McFarland. He's Trees Atlanta Volunteer Project Manager. We will now hear a word from Joyce and Connie.
Well, good evening. I'm Councilmember Shepard, as Willette said earlier, and I am so happy to be here this evening. This is the second of a series of meetings we're having to introduce people to Trees Atlanta. If you don't know Trees Atlanta, which is such a great organization in our city of Atlanta, period. So it's not just one side of the city, but Trees Atlanta really serves the city of Atlanta very much holistically all over the city of Atlanta. Where I visit Trees Atlanta, the old location where they were, and we're happy to have them now moving to the south side of Atlanta. Can't wait for them to become involved with our community to build out. I was actually out there last week with Greg and some of my staff, and we were looking at walking along the property lines of where the new Trees Atlanta is going to be, talking about sidewalks and how much this particular organization is going to lift our community. It will be sitting right next to the Beltline, the Murphy Triangle area. And we were just talking last week about how we want to build it out in a way, Trees Atlanta will be built out in a way to access the Beltline, but also complement the community. This particular area of where Trees Atlanta is building, Murphy Triangle, it is going through a major shift and change because of the Beltline, which is a good thing. There are developers and folks who are actually getting ready to build and start development in this whole surrounding area. So I'm again proud to have Trees Atlanta to be involved with this. And what I love about Trees Atlanta is the fact that they are very much community engaged. I've always known that about Trees Atlanta in terms of what they do. They are always out there in the community doing things. And I just want to thank Trees Atlanta and everybody involved with what you all do as a community, as a staff, as a board for the city of Atlanta. So with that, this project, they want to share tonight what they're going to do in terms of the building. And I'm excited to bring that to the community so you all can hear, listen to their presentation and actually ask questions. So again, thank you, Trees Atlanta, for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce. We appreciate your kind words and your continued partnership. We're very excited about our project. Before we get started tonight, I just wanted to make sure everybody's familiar with Trees Atlanta. We have been around since 1985, so we've recently celebrated our 36th anniversary. And we have served primarily the city of Atlanta, but we've also, tapped out more into Metro Atlanta over the current years. We have planted over 140,000 trees so far, so we're very proud of that. And we do lots of work, but some you may be familiar with is along the Beltline is the Arboretum. So in collaboration with Atlanta Beltline, we've been working on designing and installing and implementing and maintaining the Atlanta Beltline Arboretum, which once the Beltline's finished, it'll be about a 22-mile arboretum. And we believe that's going to be the world's longest linear arboretum. So we're very excited that our new facility will actually be adjacent to the Beltline. We're also very proud of the fact that so many volunteers have supported Trees Atlanta over the years. We typically get about 40,000 hours of support and community service from our volunteers. And they help us plant about 7,000 trees each year and restore about 500 acres of forest, which means we're getting rid of invasive species such as kudzu and English ivy and privet and replacing those with native species. And we do a lot of education at Trees Atlanta. So we're in over 50 schools throughout Atlanta. We have a summer camp, and we also have a youth tree team, which is our high school job development program. I think they've already put up, of course, we love trees, and there's many good reasons why trees are important. And let us put up the long list of them. But we believe most importantly that trees improve the health and the quality of life and the well-being of people who live near them. And we believe that by protecting trees, we're protecting ourselves. We like to look at trees as assets that deliver positive daily results to the community. And we have looked at a Nature Conservancy study that actually said that trees are assets that deliver positive daily results to a location when they're planted. And we also know that being outside in nature has very positive improvements on physical and mental health, as well as education and behavioral outcomes. So we know that trees are good for us. We've also historically been very committed to the community that we serve. We're committed to making sure that what we do supports the community and that it provides health and well-being for those who are in the community that we serve. And the best way that we do that from our mission is to make sure that the canopy is expanded and preserved. We're really looking forward to our new headquarters serving as a space that'll serve the community in lots of different ways. We think it'll be a great connection with the Beltline. We're going to be regreening it. You'll hear more about that tonight. It'll be a great place to connect with surrounding green spaces. We hope that you'll come and enjoy educational events at our facility and hopefully volunteer with Trees Atlanta. And we will also have employment opportunities if you're interested in a job with Trees Atlanta.
All right, well, thank you so much, Joyce and Connie. We will now hear from Greg, Lee, and John regarding the updates for the building.
Thank you, Alette, and thank you everybody for joining on this Zoom meeting. Just a little bit more about the location. I think we should make sure everybody understands where we're going. We are going to be in Oakland City. It is a wedge, the very tip of Oakland City, wedged between Adair Park and West End. And as you can see from this map, it's on the corner of Warner Street and Alene. And of course, the Beltline is just about 50 yards away. That is much the reason why we picked this location. We wanted to be in an industrial area and improve it by planting and regreening it. We also wanted to be on the Beltline Arboretum, where we are investing so much time and effort to use it as a place to educate the public about the importance of forest, trees, and ecology. If you look at the map to the left, you can see the map to the left, you can see the yellow outline. That is Murphy, the Murphy Crossing redevelopment project. We currently have our operations in that space. That's a 17-acre redevelopment project that many of you are familiar with. And then the blue square is the 3-acre site that Trees Atlanta will be moving to. It's at 825 Warner Street. And as you can see, this is where the facility itself, it was called the bakery. It once was a bakery, and more recently it was an artist area, also named the bakery. And its history is that it also was an iron fence making in the earliest history of the property. There's not a lot of trees or greenery left on the property. There's one giant oak, and you can see the old grain tower that exists. And of course, a 1950s building, mostly a steel and concrete building, and a lot of parking lot. So this is our site plan. This is a plan that has been turned into the city. And I'm going to talk about it from left to right. You can see Bigland Street on the far left. It is an actual street. It's blocked right now, but it is an actual street. And you can see that we're adding sidewalks on Bigland, Warner Street, and Alene, where we're doing all the sidewalks along the neighborhood. And on Alene in Warner Street, we'll have a 5-foot or 4 to 5 foot tree median. If you're going from left to right, you see the large circle. That is a giant southern red oak, almost 36 inches, maybe 38 inches, that we will be preserving, giving plenty of green space. There's an exit from our operation space, which is to the right of the large tree. That's where we will store our equipment and our trucks. And then below that is the parking lot, which is 54 parking spaces. It will be pavers and or gravel for the best drainage and getting the water back into the ground, into the soil, and keeping it out of our sewer systems. The building immediately above the parking lot is the operations building. It's about a 3,000 square foot building where we will have all of our operations and program staff working out of on a daily basis. To the right of that building, you'll see a tree alley. That is going to be a community plaza. And that community plaza will be for community events, but also for rentals for those that would want to use the space for events that can help support, the income can help support the organization's mission. Below that is the major, the larger building. It's about 18,000 to 19,000 square feet. It's 2 stories, and it will house our education programming, our program staff when they're working in the office, and our operations staff while they're working in the office on the 2nd floor. And of course, our admin staff and development staff will also be upstairs, but the whole downstairs will be community-based. We'll have 2 large classrooms, a volunteer meeting room, a board or / community meeting room. It will also have a small kitchen that people can use for events. To the right of the right side of the building will be mostly windows overlooking a meadow lawn, and it will be not a mowed lawn, but a meadow of native plants and grasses. And you can see a lot of trees on site. We'll be planting over 150,000 trees on site. We'll be keeping as many of the large trees. When I say large trees, there's a few 12, 14-inch trees. And of course, a big southern red oak. If you move to the very north side of the property, you can see that sidewalk that Joyce was talking about earlier. That will be the Beltline entrance, the entrance right from the Beltline that will connect to the building, and will get you through the plaza. And if you see where it says canopy, it will lead you to the canopy, which is the front door. And of course, people coming from the parking lot will be led to the canopy, which is also getting you to the front door. The white circle right above the major building, that is the original granary tower. We will be keeping that and doing some restoration on it, and possibly some future exciting things will be going along with that as well. The only component left really that I'd like to talk about, obviously we'll have lots of different native plants. It should be about 99% native plantings, but we're going to be using those native plantings for demonstration and education, educating the community about the purpose of native plants, and also about how to maintain a native landscape and maintain trees. The last section I will talk about is completely north of the 2 buildings, that green lawn. Beltline is contributing some of the green space just above the dash line. That will be a 60 to 70 foot wide green space, of which we will landscape for community green space, education, demonstration, display, and just recreational enjoyment. So that's the actual site layout. I can certainly talk about it for a lot longer, but I probably should run to the next slide before someone pulls me with a hook. This is the elevation from the front door. It's a brick on the bottom and a concrete material on the top. And you can see the canopy to the far left, and the old grain tower still existing. From the Beltline, this next elevation shows you coming from the Beltline path. And to the right, you can see the tower, which leads you to the front door. But you can also see there is a back door access as well, and garage doors that can open up into the green space. So that's the major part of the site. This is a little bit about the schedule coming up. May and June, we'll have a demolition. We have our rodent letter, which is a major part of demolition of old buildings. And we will be, hopefully, if we're really lucky, it'll be early to mid-June. You'll start to see the building come down. And then groundbreaking will be in June to July, where we'll start construction. And build out will end in hopefully May of 2022, but they have June of 2022, but we hope to be in May of 2022. So with that, I think Lee Harrop's going to talk a little bit more about the brownfield and how that process will work.
Sure. So I'm Lee. I just worked on this site for quite a while with Greg and Connie, and before that, I did all the remediation for the Beltline and a little farm across the street. And so it's something I know a thing or two about. This site in particular has got lead in the soil, like many sites in Atlanta. It's nothing to really get concerned about, but we do have a corrective action plan with the state EPD, and that's been approved. And with that, we applied to Invest Atlanta for a grant from the Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund that EPA has provided. I believe that grant was successful. Thank you, Joyce, for your support on that. And so we've looked at doing the remediation before the demolition, after the demolition. It looks like the best way to go for it is after demolition. After the building's gone, we can make sure the ground underneath it is clean. We're very fortunate that the area around the big oak tree that Greg is so fond of didn't have any issues, so we won't have to dig around there. But everywhere else, it's kind of scattered. It's nothing you would see if you went out and looked at the soil. But all that remediation work will happen after the demolition. And we'll make sure there'll be dust suppression to keep dust from blowing into the neighborhood, and other things to make sure that the work is done as safely and as inobtrusively as possible. We've got a great group of remediation folks in the city. They know what they're doing. And fortunately, we've got a lot of experience in this particular area. So it should be pretty smooth going once we get going. So it's just a matter of getting to that point of pulling the trigger. If there are any questions about the environmental issues, I'm happy to answer.
Hey, everybody, this is John McFarland. I'm the volunteer on the task force for the Working with Trees Atlanta on this. Give you all a quick update on the overall construction process. So we do have our demolition contractor selected and under contract. They are now working to secure the vertical demolition permit from the city of Atlanta. We have two stages of demolition. First, we need to take down the building. And then there is some removal of the existing asphalt and other things on the site, and that's considered a horizontal demolition. So we first start with the building. So the rodent letter that Greg mentioned is one step in that. The next step is to do a survey inside the building for any asbestos containing materials. We do believe that there are some. So early next week, that survey will be done. We'll confirm that. And then if they find any, that they'll remove that asbestos material before they do the demolition. So typically how they do that, they encapsulate the building. They filter any air that might come out of the building to make sure nothing gets out into the environment. They remove it, they bag it, they take it away and properly dispose of it. And then the building is clean for demolition. So once we get all of that done, they'll take the building down. Around that time, we expect to have the design fully complete, and we will then secure our contractor who will take over the project at that point to do the rest of the demolition, the land disturbance, and then ultimately build the beautiful building that you just saw. The timeframes that are on the screen right now are the best that we can tell at this point in time, and to echo, we do hope to get in by May of 2022. During construction, at this point, the contractor that we're currently talking with, we've talked to him some about any kind of road closures. They don't expect that to be the case. If they do happen to need it, they'll go through the proper permitting through the city. Occasionally, you could probably expect to see a lane blocked by a delivery truck waiting to pull into the site. That would be a temporary blockage, and it'd be only one lane of the street there. So shouldn't be a big impact. They also expect to not need to do any kind of after hours construction work. So per the city of Atlanta, that work can occur weekdays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then weekends and holidays, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you can expect to see people working during those times, but not afterwards. And if you see some people there afterwards, I encourage you to contact the Atlanta Police Department, because they may not be our contractors. Of course, we're going to set up a email address, and I'll let Trees Atlanta talk about how to contact us if you have any concerns during construction. You'll be able to email those in, and we will get that to the right person who can respond to you and take the appropriate action. That's the update construction wise. And again, as Lee said, happy to answer questions as they come up.
All right, well, thank you so much, Greg, Lee, and John, for those updates. We will now transition to the Q&A portion of the meeting. Remember that if you submitted questions with your registration, we will moderate those along with that comes in via text, Q&A screen, and the chat window. If you want to submit questions via text, please send them to 404-913-2507. That's 404-913-2507. You are welcome to continue to submit questions throughout the live Q&A session. All right, so I'm going to hop into some of the questions that were submitted. All right, why Oakland City? So our first question is, why Oakland City? How does this move benefit Oakland City residents and trees? And I guess anyone from the panelists can answer these questions.
I'll try to answer that question best as I can. I think there's multiple reasons why we ended up in Oakland City. We, as an organization, were looking to help regreen a site that needed to be regreened. We didn't want to go to a forested site. We did look at one and it felt very uncomfortable. So we were looking for an industrial site. We also looking in neighborhoods that we've had a long lasting relationship. And we have that with West End and Adair Park in Oakland City. In fact, I think we played in West End and Adair Park for almost 25 or 26 years straight with the community. And the other major component was beyond clearing a forested property was to be as close to the Beltline as possible. We use the Beltline as an educational tool, a demonstration tool as well. And the Arboretum is very important to us. And we want to continue to work on it. We thought having our facility next to it would be an opportunity to use it better for education on both urban ecology and urban forestry.
And I'd like to add to that also. I think as a council member, I've been in the community for quite some time. And I think the assumption by a lot of folks is that Oakland City is actually on the other side of Lee Street. But the city maps, Warner Street, 825 Warner Street, actually Oakland City crosses over the railroad track and actually abuts Adair Park and the Capitol View community, as well as Weston. So the part of where Trees Atlanta is building is actually in the neighborhood of Oakland City. I just want to make sure people understand that also.
Thanks, Joyce.
All right, thank you all for those answers. A follow-up question to that one is, why did we decide to move from Chester Avenue?
I can try on that, sure. The main reason we love Chester Avenue, we have had a long relationship with Reynoldstown in that area, but the truth of the matter was that we just outgrew the space. It didn't have the parking we needed, and we weren't just on Chester Avenue. We also have an operations center at Murphy Crossing, and we had a treehouse, which was our education center across from Krog Street Market. What we found is that all of our employees were scattered all over, all of our equipment was scattered all over, and we felt like we were losing a lot of the collaboration at Trees Atlanta. So we wanted to bring everybody back together. So we knew that the current need, none of the three buildings that we were in met our needs. And when we started looking, we loved this area. We had a consulting firm that helped us figure out the best area to be, and this was one that they pinpointed. And our staff and our board were very excited about it. So it seemed like a good move for a lot of reasons. Greg, did you want to add anything to that?
No, you hit it.
All
Okay.
right, thank you so much, Connie. The next question is, will the facility grounds be open to the public like a park?
Yes, we will have unlike our current property, it'll be completely open. At least we believe it will start that way. Hopefully it will continue that way. The only part that won't be open will be the operations, that specific operation space where we store our trucks and our plant material. But otherwise, we want it to be an asset for the community to enjoy and also learn from and hopefully rest.
Thank you, Greg. Can you talk more about the Beltline access?
Yes, I can. Well, so as Joyce said earlier, we talked about, we met earlier, we are replacing all the sidewalks around the facility. Beltline has agreed to give a little bit of green space so that we have a larger green space. And so we can use it as a better asset for the community. And we will have a connector trail where we are missing right now a small section of sidewalk between the Beltline and the connector trail, which would probably change when Murphy Crossing starts to get redeveloped. But it's literally, I think about 25, maybe, and Lee might correct me, about 25 or 30 yards from the Beltline itself. It'll be very visual, and it will be where the green starts in that industrial area.
Thank you. The next question is, are you planning to put in a rainwater harvesting system?
John, do you think you can take that?
Yeah. So specifically for capturing rainwater to reuse, no, at this point, we don't have a site-wide system. What we're going to do instead is try to replicate as best we can what a Piedmont forest would do on that area by infiltrating the water into the soil and keeping it from running off. So I don't know if you remember from the site plan that Greg had up on the screen, most of the parking is pervious, which means the water will flow into the ground. There will be some pipes underground that will take any additional water and channel that underground into the bioretention pond, which is up at the northeast corner of the site. And in that location, there'll be plant material and other things to help better absorb the water. So at the end of the day, the amount of water runoff from the site will be dramatically less than it is right now, and pretty much mirror what would be occurring if that was a fully forested site without any buildings on it whatsoever.
And John, I think we're working in, at least looking into collecting rainwater from the roof as well, so that we can reuse it to water the landscape as we establish it, but also watering our trees throughout the community. So right now we collect about half our roof water at Chester Avenue. We're not sure about how much we'll be able to collect here, but we're hoping to collect as much of it as possible.
That's right, Greg. I forgot about the tanks we were thinking about especially in the utility maintenance area.
Yeah, we also think the tanks would be a great educational demonstration area for visitors to Trees Atlanta to understand how you can capture rainwater.
Thank you, John, Greg, and Connie. The next question is, will you put out a request for proposal for businesses to bid on work?
I'll take that one. So right now we're working with one contractor. They've been helping us through the design process because one of the challenges that we're facing has been, if you've noticed, material prices in the construction world have gone up dramatically. And so they have been helping the design team and Trees Atlanta keep the project within the budget as we've been going through the design process. So if we stay within the budget, when we get to the end, we will hire our expectation probably will be to hire that company. And then they will procure their subcontractors to do the work as and that'll be their responsibility.
Thank you, John. The next question, the club traffic on the next street over. There is club traffic on the next street over. Will we have security around the new headquarters?
When you're saying the next street up, this is Councilmember Shepard. Are we talking about Woodrow where there is traffic over there? And if so, we're going to have to look at that. I will say to you all, we are in the process of looking at a redevelopment plan for this whole concentrated industrial area that I'm going to be meeting with Commissioner King and actually coming up with a redevelopment plan. And as we do that, that particular site I think you're talking about, which is on Woodrow, which is a vacant lot where they're having parties and things, we'll be working to see what's happening with them and see how to deal with that also. But I also would say to you all, one of the things I think is great is the fact that as I'm walking around this area last week when I was out there with Greg, the fact that this is an industrial area that has been blighted and just isolated, and then just nothing has happened in years. And the fact that the Beltline is there and now Trees Atlanta, the more eyes and ears on the street will stop all the dumping and a lot of other things, and so bring in more development. Just the Trees Atlanta, the Beltline, and some other projects that's going on. So it's going to change, but I do hear your concern around this little spot that we have that is becoming a problem in the community. And we will be working with the police department on that. But I need for folks to call the police department when you see something happen also. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Joyce Shepard. Our next question is, it's really a statement and a question. Our community needs help saving our existing trees, and our communities by helping homeowners destroy English ivy that's killing and weakening our trees. How can Trees Atlanta help with that? That's a really, really good question.
Yeah, so we do have a forest restoration program, and we actually have a 3-part series on how to remove invasive plant species, and it's not a free program, but we do have scholarships as well, and we also have a tree keeper program which includes some invasive removal. So we have those 2 programs from an education standpoint, but we have been doing a test project, actually working with Lee Harrop on the west side, to actually start looking at and advising and care of some of the senior trees. It is a test project. We don't know exactly where it's going to go, but we are trying to figure out ways that we can assist the community in taking care of their existing trees. So it's something that it'll be interesting to see how we further develop that. But I think, talking with Willette as our outreach person and figuring out some things that relate to forest canopy that are ideas that we could help the neighborhoods. We are all ears and look forward to hearing from people about more ideas.
Thank you, Greg. Our follow-up question, kind of similar to the RFP, will steps be taken to hire construction workers from the neighborhood? I know you mentioned hiring down the line, but what about doing construction?
John,
I guess I'll try to answer that. Go ahead.
Well,
John,
I was
why don't you answer
Greg,
part
I think,
of it?
Yeah, I'll say that we will encourage the contractor to look for local labor to do the work. But at the end of the day, it's still their responsibility to get the workers who can meet the qualifications, et cetera, that we need to make sure that the building is built per the design.
And we do have jobs available right now. We have several positions open. I think we have 6 positions. We encourage you to go to our website, or anybody that's looking for a job. We do a lot of training. We just need people that are committed to our mission and want to work hard, and they don't have to have a lot of expertise at the moment, because a lot of these jobs are kind of entry-level positions into the organization. So jump on our website, and again, there are some positions open right now.
Yeah, we would really love to have some community members for our new community apply for some of these jobs if at all possible.
Yes, please go to treesatlanta.org and apply to these positions, especially at our new headquarters. Entry-level position, you get training on the job. So if you like working outside, send people our way.
I'm going to ask you, this is Councilwoman Shepard, if you all could send me a copy of the jobs. I do a newsletter on a every other week basis, and I can send that out to the community also.
Great. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you so much, Joyce. The next question, what kind of new trees are being installed? And what type of trees can fix the air? Well, let's start off with what kind of trees are being installed on the site.
So we're planting over 150 trees, as I said earlier. They haven't finalized the species list. I believe it's going to be 100% native species. So someone might try to slip in some beautiful ornamental tree, but right now it's 150 native trees. We're looking at probably having 50 different species. And if you include cultivars, we might be in 60 or so different species in cultivars. And there'll be as many shade trees as we can fit on the site. And it's also going to be a lot of shrubs as well. So it's going to be a pretty thick canopy. It's going to go from basically, 3% or 4% tree cover, maybe 5%, to we're hoping over 60% in about 15 years.
Thank you, Greg. Will the building have any lead or comparable certifications?
Will it have LEED or any other certifications? No, we're not pursuing any certifications. It's been designed along the guidelines of many of the sustainability programs out there. But I think the building itself will speak to its sustainable footprint.
I'll add that from the very get-go, the task force, which Lee and John are both on, when we were looking to create the RFP, we said the landscape is as important as the building, or more so. So that's the direction that we gave them. We wanted people to really notice the landscape more than the building in the end. Although the building, as John said, we're doing everything we can to make it green without going through the certification process, which can be fairly costly.
Yeah, and I'll also add, I mean, just as an example, so the demolition, you'll see that the concrete and other masonry products actually will never leave the site. They will be demolished, but then ground up and used back on the site as part of the fill for the parking lot and other aspects. So that waste will actually never leave the site. It'll be used instead of bringing in new material. All of the metal will get recycled. It's a high commodity product right now. So all of that. So we'll probably see just from the demolition, probably well over 90% of the existing building materials will be recycled or reused in some way. Should we talk about the wood frame, Greg? You didn't talk about that.
Well, you can talk about that.
So I think another fairly unique aspect of a commercial building is this building will be a wood frame building. Wood, while you might think, well, you're cutting down trees to build the building, we're cutting down trees that were intentionally grown for lumber. And those trees get replanted because the people who cut it down want to grow more trees for lumber. So from a carbon sequestration standpoint, from a global carbon impact, we will be probably carbon neutral, arguably carbon neutral with this building because of the amount of wood that we're going to embed into the building for the rest of its life, which I think I heard from Greg and Connie is 50 plus years. So long time. So it's a great way to really bring carbon out of the atmosphere and put it into something that is beautiful and will serve for a lot of different purposes in a positive way.
Thank you, Greg and John. We have another really good question. Will the trees be protected from stragglers on the Beltline?
Stragglers, meaning, I'm not sure exactly, but we will protect our trees, make sure they get established, just as we've done on the Beltline Arboretum itself, and figure out ways to make sure that our plantings are protected as they do get established. And we're one thing we're definitely professionals on is getting trees established in the most urban and challenging situations. So we will definitely get that done.
Thank you,
and
Greg.
we'll replace the ones that don't make it.
Will your education program run from here And what type of impact do you see with the community youth to have pathways for green jobs?
Yes, our education center will reside in the new building. We're going to actually have 2 big classrooms. The whole downstairs will be open to it. We'll be operating summer camps in the summer with children, usually, elementary school age to middle school. Our youth treat team, which I talked about earlier, which is our high school job development program, will also be working out of there, which is one method to get jobs in the community as well. So we always need counselors for camps. We need counselors for youth treat team. And then we'll also have our adult education programs, which is usually like speaker series that come through. I think one thing we really want this headquarters to be different than the one that we currently have in Reynoldstown. That never really had a community feel. It was just didn't have enough parking to be as welcoming. It was in a highly industrialized area, which wasn't easily accessible. But we really hope the community will feel like this is a place where they can come and learn and help us and be a part of all of this. And I think the jobs, we expect quite a bit of growth throughout Trees Atlanta, especially in our education group in workforce development, which will let, you can also jump in on this one. She's heading up Youth Tree Team and a lot of other workforce development pilots that we're actually doing. If you want to talk about that in a second, Willette, but we're seeing huge growth in this area over the next 10 years. And we'd really like this community to be a huge partner in that. Willette, you want to talk a little bit about some of the other things we've been doing?
Yeah, so I can kind of emphasize on the workforce development with the Youth Tree Team. And we just rolled out a new workforce development in partnership with the Beltline called Strive. And that's basically an entry-level training for adults. And it really just gives them a 3-week training and for our maintenance. So they get rotation on the Beltline, neighborhoods, which is our department that plant trees, the East Side Trail and the West Side Trail, and prepares them to actually go from the training program to actually applying to the positions and then getting hired. So our goal is to kind of create that direct pipeline with a workforce development program to hire directly from them. Also, our high school program is a great program. It really exposes high school students to green infrastructure jobs and the green environment. So we have a 32 student program every summer, has 32 students, and they come work for us. We teach them about green collar jobs, enrichment days, exposing them to different options when it comes to workforce, colleges. We do financial literacy. So they're really exposed to some diversity when it comes to graduated from high school. So those are some really good programs when it comes to youth and adults that we hope to spread in the community when we relocate.
I'm going to add one thing too. We also have a new Associate Director of Education, and she came from Chattahoochee Nature Center. So she's got, I want to say, nearly 20 years of environmental education. And we're really excited about that addition to the team. Rebecca Gilbert has been added to the team. So, and she's excited about expanding our program. So there'll be more to come.
And one more thing, a lot of our jobs, we have kind of revamped our application where anyone's pretty capable applying to the jobs. We kind of want to encourage people who may not have a college degree or who just want to hop right into the workforce. Our jobs kind of promote that training that some people are looking for. So I really encourage people to apply. I'm hopping to the next question. John spoke a little bit about recyclable materials. Can we talk a little bit more about other recyclable materials from the building?
Okay, I can. So first thing I talked about was the recycling of the building demolition, the existing building demolition. And then we talked about the wood structure going in. Another thing we're focusing on is getting building materials from our local region. So the brick will be locally sourced. I think even the concrete exterior skin that's on the second level is a locally sourced product, local being Southeast. The other aspects inside the building, one of the things we're doing is not putting in finishes that we don't need. So there'll be the concrete floor in many cases will be left exposed. Other places we'll use carpet where needed. And that carpet will be not only made from recycled products, it will be made locally in Georgia, and it will also be fully recyclable. So when it gets worn out, it'll be easy to recycle it. A lot of places we're not going to have ceilings, so we're not going to put in materials that we just don't need. So we're going to try to avoid putting in stuff. All of the paint will be 0 VOC, so so indoor air quality will be good. From an energy standpoint, the building is highly energy efficient. I think we're beating our local energy code by about 30%, perhaps a little bit more than that. The building will also be solar panel ready. So in the event that Trees Atlanta can install solar panels, it will be easy to connect them to the building electrical system. We're still hoping that'll be the case on day one, but if it's not, it'll be there and be ready whenever it can be. And then actually from plumbing fixtures, those will be all very water efficient. So we're trying to not only minimize our initial footprint from a building material standpoint, but minimize the long-term operational footprint from energy and water use.
Thank you so much, John. How can the trees help with air pollution and air quality? So it's really a part 1, part 2 question. How can the trees help with air pollution and air quality? And what is the tree palette?
I will let you answer that question, Willette. Trees obviously collect a lot of particulate matter, which pulls it out of the air, which helps with asthma. It also cools pavement, and you get reducing, and I'm sure Lee or John can get the right language on that, but basically reducing VOCs, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And smog.
Yeah.
And smog as well. So, trees and cooling, obviously Atlanta as well, reducing heat, reduces, for community, reduces stroke and heat-related illnesses. So there's a lot of benefits, not to mention just acting as a filter for water. A lot of people think pine trees actually are really good for taking out particulate matter, and different trees do different environmental benefits. That's why we'll be varying the plants themselves. But right now, I know that we have some base pallet trees that we have already seen come across, include tupelo, linden, silver bell, bald cypress, Virginia magnolia, and Georgia oak were all a few of the trees that I remember just from the early concept designs.
Thank you, Greg. It looks like we're on our last question. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat or the Q&A. Someone asked, any idea what the inside will look like?
We just had an interior design meeting yesterday. It was actually in person. It was very exciting. Me and 2 other people showed up. It's going to be a simple, warm palette, a lot of glass. It's not over the top in design. We do have a limited budget. The base of it's going to be brick. We are going to have some wood accents. And actually, we had some trees that had to be taken down from a construction project by Kimberly Clark, and they are actually donating that lumber and actually milling it for us to use for some of the inside details. And it's pretty open. When you open the 2 classrooms, I'd say and any of y'all can correct me, about 70 to 80% of the downstairs is pretty open once you open the classrooms. And we have it so you can open it up to the landscape as well. Probably not during mosquito time, but we really want it to be an open kind of community feel. There'll be lots of tables and chairs for people to sit at that community will be able to come during open hours when there's not special events.
If I can add to that, Greg, also, we've really designed the building because we want to drive people outdoors, especially from what we've learned from COVID. Our employees want to be outside. I think community wants to be outside as well. So we'll have areas where community can gather, where we can do education. We'll have outdoor classrooms out there too. So the whole feeling from inside is that you get the sense of space outside, and it'll encourage you to go out and do that and hopefully take a walk or a bike ride on the Beltline.
Thank you, Connie and Greg. This is the last question. Have you all thought about doing neighborhood or community open house days for neighbors to get to know the organization? I know you're still a ways out before opening.
I think that's a great idea. And Willette, could you help us make that happen?
Yes, for sure. That's a really good idea. I can put that on the agenda.
You know, if y'all have ideas, once it's been taking us so long to get to this point, but hopefully we'll have a groundbreaking ceremony of some sort. It might be a first party we can actually all gather together somewhere.
And our goal is also to continue to have community informational meetings throughout the building process to, you know, constantly get feedback from the communities. And I think another way we're trying to engage neighboring communities is through maintenance and education. So just informing the neighboring communities when we do maintenance in their neighborhood. Tree planting season isn't here yet, but will be here in October. So we are trying to get a head start with reaching out to communities now. But we're always, if you have any ideas on community engagement, please send them to community@treesatlanta.org.
I would add too, Willette, we recently did, United Way hosted us on an ideation session to start trying to figure out what we think the community would like to see in the building. But if anybody has ideas, if you could send them to any of us, Willette, Greg, me, we'd love to have that because our staff is very active. We have a whole task force that's trying to come up with good ideas so that we can hit the ground running and really be what the community wants on day one when we open.
Thank you, Connie.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple more minutes left. Any more questions? Please put them in the Q&A and chat box. How can other community organizations utilize the building?
A really great question. We are looking into actually having other nonprofits possibly in the building with us. A conservation fund, which is a nonprofit that buys land, is talking to us. And we're also very early conversations with Audubon as a possibility to also be in the facility. But we are going to have one of the smaller classrooms is going to be available for environmental nonprofits to use when it's available at no cost unless there's food or they're raising money around the event. But we are going to have a space. It's kind of a nonprofit classroom for others to use, including, you know, if there's community meetings.
All right. Well, thank you for all your questions. Thank you to the panelists for joining us today. A lot of the information was vital. Additional meetings will be scheduled. So we will keep you all posted. More information will always be on our website. As we stated earlier, we are hiring. We have a lot of positions open. We would love for people from the community to most definitely apply for the jobs. The website is www.treesatlanta.org/careers. Also, it's a lot of great feedback and a lot of great questions. If you have any more concerns or questions or feedback, please email us at community@treesatlanta.org.
Thank you all, Trees Atlanta, for participating tonight and sharing with the community and the city we're very excited about you coming to District 12 and the South Side of Atlanta. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.